This morning, people across the country are protesting the military action on Venezuela, including right here at home. What Madison protesters have to say.
Plus, those warmer temperatures are almost here. I'll talk about when they'll come and how warm they'll be coming up.
And our Call for Action team wants you to learn from others' mistakes, how you can ensure you're protected when driving a work vehicle. Good Sunday morning, the first of 2026. You're watching Weekend Mornings. I'm Michelle Renee Quinn. We begin this morning with an update following breaking news yesterday. People around the country are reacting to the U.S. attack on Venezuela. Protesters were outside in Madison yesterday and are expected to continue into today. Our Nash Dara reports.
After recent conflict arisings with the United States of America and Venezuela, protests across the nation have come to fruition after Donald Trump's capturing of the South American country's president, Nicolas Maduro. After a string of large-scale attacks carried out early Saturday morning by the Trump administration, members of various anti-war groups and others joined outside the state's capital to share their objection and reaction to the breaking news.
Well, outrage, one, that the United States would go in and bomb a sovereign country with no justification the way that they have. I think everybody here is angry that this is happening. We don't want this war, but we're also optimistic that we can build a movement that will stop it.
The two countries' disputed relationship dates back quite some time, but the planned ambush from the U.S. military marks a key point in the country's ongoing disagreements.
However much the U.S. dislikes their system, we have no right to go into a sovereign country and kidnap their president and take them back to the United States. And so we're out here to say no war, no kidnapping, stop the bombings, stop the siege on Venezuela, and let Nicolas Maduro return back to Venezuela.
Maduro and his wife were captured in Caracas, Venezuela's capital. He was seen on President Trump's social media, blindfolded on board the USS Iwo Jima, where he was being taken to New York for prosecution.
In this circumstance, we have gone into a country, kidnapped their head of state, and are now trying to attempt regime change. All of this done without any congressional consultation, all of this done against the will of the Venezuelan people, and all of this done overnight with no warning.
Thank you, Nash. The protests in Madison are just one of many happening all over the country. Now, let's get you a quick weather update as you're getting ready this morning. Here's a live look outside our weather window. We're checking in with meteorologist Jacob Montesano live with your first warned weather.
Good morning, Michelle Renee. Temperatures still on that colder side this morning. In fact, they actually are a little bit colder than this time yesterday for some areas. Places to the north are actually below zero, and then you do have temperatures in the lower 20s for southwest Wisconsin. So a pretty big disparity depending on where you're waking up this morning. And as we go throughout the day, most of the area will see similar temperatures with highs in the middle to upper 20s with a good amount of cloud cover. Maybe some breezy conditions later in the day, but the wind's not too bad at all. High temperatures again getting a little bit warmer compared to yesterday, and each day continues to get better. But we also are going to see some precipitation today. Nothing on radar right now, and it's going to still be dry for the next several hours. Once we get to around noon, we'll start to see some snow and freezing rain move into areas near La Crosse and Eau Claire, and then throughout the afternoon into the evening that will continue to push across Wisconsin. The best chance for this will be for areas north of Madison and north of the Dells as well, where there'll be some light to moderate snow and freezing rain. Far southern Wisconsin, just very light snow or freezing rain, but definitely take it easy on the roads during this time as the freezing rain will likely create very slippery conditions. But the good news is that this will clear out probably before midnight, certainly by Monday morning, and then we will be dry for Monday and also warmer. I'll talk more about that warm up coming up in just a bit.
Jacob, thank you. Now to more on the U.S. attack in Venezuela. Christian Benavides brings what comes next for the Latin American nation.
Former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro and his wife Celia Flores stepped onto American soil, chained and shackled, surrounded by a small army of federal law enforcement. Maduro will be held at New York's infamous Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Newly unsealed criminal charges against Maduro and his wife allege Maduro abused his position of trust and engaged in corruption for a quarter century.
Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region.
The Justice Department also links Maduro's alleged conspiracy to the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua, which allegedly engaged in extortions, kidnappings, murders, and other crimes. Capturing Maduro was an audacious snatch-and-grab operation in Venezuela in the early hours of Saturday morning. A swarm of U.S. military helicopters, special forces units known as the Night Stalkers, descended on Caracas. Explosions lit up the sky, and within 2.5 hours of U.S. forces touching down, Maduro and his wife were in custody.
This was a law enforcement exercise. It was the Department of War in support of the Department of Justice pulling out an indicted person who ultimately will face justice.
President Trump and his team watched the mission unfold from his Mar-a-Lago home. The president said the U.S. will take over Venezuela without explaining how that's going to work, how long it could last, and whether U.S. troops would be needed to do it. He also said the U.S. will take over the country's oil reserves. Cristian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
At least 5 strategic targets were also hit during airstrikes, including military bases in the country's main port. Coming up at 7:30, hear what Wisconsin lawmakers have to say about the attack. In Rock County, firefighters are responding to a home in the town of Milton on Road 5 Street. That's on the west side of Lake Koshkonong. The box alarm call coming in just before midnight. Crews remaining on scene well into the morning hours. A 2- or 3-story home can be seen, and that looks like a total loss right there. Officials confirm no reports of injuries as of 4:40 this morning. They have not yet confirmed the displacement of the family, and it is unknown if Red Cross is providing help. Lakeside Fire Rescue, Deerfield, Stoughton, Elkhorn, Fort Atkinson, and Janesville fire departments were all on scene, and Rock County Sheriff's Office confirms crews still on scene around 4:40 this morning. In more local news this morning, a man is in custody following a standoff at a home in Janesville. Janesville police responded to a residence on Tyler Street near the Ice Arena yesterday afternoon. A man there had a warrant through probation and several new charges from the Beloit Police Department. Police said the man refused to exit his home, and officers eventually entered. They spoke with him for about 20 minutes before he surrendered and was taken into custody. He's being held at the Rock County Jail, and Beloit Police will be conducting follow-ups regarding the charges. Looking ahead to next weekend, Non-Alcoholic Day is returning to the Burr Oak in Madison for its 3rd installment on Saturday, January 10th. Attendees will be able to try samples of more than 50 non-alcoholic products, including beers, seltzers, kombuchas, spirits, hemp-derived products, and more. There will be 2 sessions in total, one from noon to 2 p.m. and another from 2 to 4 p.m. Tickets cost $20 in advance or $30 at the door. Still ahead on weekend mornings, if you drive a company car or your own car for work purposes, I'll tell you how to avoid being charged thousands and thousands of dollars.
Plus, I'll be back with a look at that warm-up and also show you a few other precipitation chances this week. This is Weekend Mornings. Keep it here.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Welcome back. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. We'll see that freezing rain snow mix today with warmer temperatures by tomorrow and a few other rain and mixed chances later this week. But for that system today, we do have a winter weather advisory in effect for areas north of the Dells from 11 a.m. to midnight. Again, still going to see that precipitation in far southern Wisconsin, just not quite as much, but areas in central Wisconsin will see a little bit more of that snow and freezing rain. Definitely take it easy on the roads during this time, as that freezing rain will definitely create some slippery road conditions, especially on untreated surfaces. And that's also the case for far southern Wisconsin. Although the precipitation will be light, still going to see some slippery roads. The good news is that this is going to clear up very quickly. By midnight, it'll mostly be gone, and it will certainly be gone by the Monday morning commute. Other precipitation chances this week do include Monday night into Tuesday, and then a larger system is expected towards the end of the week, starting Thursday night and then continuing through next weekend, and that will also cause the temperatures to drop back down, but we are going to see that warm up before that happens. So for today, middle to upper 20s for highs, maybe some lower 30s in southwest Wisconsin. Then the temperatures are going to be pretty steady overnight. Lows will only, actually, they're not going to drop at all, with middle to upper 20s and lower 30s by the time we get to tomorrow morning. Then highs for tomorrow afternoon will be in the middle 30s with more cloudy skies, but should be pretty dry tomorrow. And then the temperature trend going forward, they're just going to continue to rise. Upper 30s to low 40s for the middle of the week, but then we are going to drop back down towards the end of the 10-day forecast. But they're not going to drop down to significantly cold levels, just a little bit cooler than the 40s for the middle of the week. So looking at the across the 10-day forecast. Again, a little bit of a wintry mix Monday night into Tuesday. More precipitation towards the end of the week, beginning Thursday night and continuing for Friday and Saturday. Are likely going to see that system end as snow with some accumulation possible as we get towards next weekend. But for the most part, a lot can change between now and then. So we are going to see those warmer temperatures for sure. And at least for a good chunk of the day, we actually should see dry conditions Monday through Thursday. That Tuesday system really only going to bring that precipitation in the morning.
All right, not so bad, but we'll got the warm temperatures, and that's our silver lining.
Yeah, it's going to feel warm when we get to the 40s.
Thank you, Jacob. We're now sharing my consumer report about a Lodi woman battling an unexpected $44,000 bill. Kara Corley was behind the wheel of a company car for Ride Connect LLC when another driver T-boned her, sending her into a traffic light. Our Call for Action team is warning other drivers to make sure you're protected. And here I share what you need to know to avoid falling into the same insurance loophole when you're driving a company car. A year after the crash, State Farm sent Kara Corley a bill for $44,000.
It was just very disheartening. It was just like somebody, I don't know, just stomped on me.
Ride Connect's insurance policy, provided by Safeco, did not cover her because she wasn't officially listed as a driver on the policy.
I was under the impression they had insurance. I would have never been driving for Ride Connect if I would have thought for 1 second there was not insurance on, and it was their vehicle that I was driving.
Corley turned to Call for Action, who advised her to file a claim with her personal insurance, Wisconsin Mutual. But that claim was also denied, the company stating, quote, "The policy specifically excludes the use of a covered vehicle while being used for a business purpose." Commercial insurance attorney Will Kramer helps many consumers in these situations minimize their losses.
The only way you'll really know what's covered and what's not is to read the insurance policy, but it's extremely complicated to read those.
He says, well, it's the employer's responsibility.
Where it gets sketchy is if you work for, a very small company or a company that doesn't have a lot of resources.
Ride Connect LLC is not a BBB accredited business. News 3 Now reached out for comment multiple times and Ride Connect failed to respond. Other rideshare programs like Uber and Lyft offer insurance for their drivers. To be sure you are insured while driving for work, double check the policies. Does your work have you listed as a driver? Your personal auto insurance policies almost always exclude business use, but making sure your name is on that work policy could save you thousands in legal fees if you end up being billed for a crash. Now, in this case, there were some additional variables like the weather and police finding no one at fault, but you can get all those details in the web article by finding this story on channel3000.com. And no matter the consumer issue, our Call for Action volunteers are always taking your consumer complaints and taking action on your behalf. You can call for action or submit a claim anytime at channel3000.com/call for action. Now to today's morning motivational quote from J.P. Morgan.
The first step towards getting somewhere is to decide you're not going to stay where you are. And like we talked about earlier, it's all about, taking that first step. I feel like taking the step is a much bigger accomplishment than actually, doing what you're going to do to get to that goal.
Absolutely. The self-awareness of you knowing okay, this is something I have to do.
Like just getting to the gym is harder than actually working out. Even though sometimes working out can be hard, but it's always that, that first step into getting into getting there.
Right, that mental battle. So here's your motivation to get through that mental battle and through that decision to not stay where you are. Keep it here because we want you to stay on Channel 3. Josh Brighter is sharing his favorite feel-good stories of 2025. You're watching Weekend Mornings. Keep it here.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Welcome back. On this first Sunday of 2026, we're taking a moment to remember the many local stories we celebrated in 2025, showing us exactly why living in the 608 is so great. Josh Brighter has a look back at some of his favorites.
It is important to make sure that you're involved in your community.
We started the year with one of our biggest and proudest campaigns, Spirit of Service, as News 3 Now partners with Vortex Optics to honor local veterans doing something good. 206 total nominations were narrowed down to 5, and viewers voted in record numbers. Megan Nolan came out on top. She's using her $5,000 award to transform a building into the only licensed before and after school program for their rural community of Rib Lake, Wisconsin.
My husband, my kids, they're huge support. I wouldn't be able to do that without them, my family, and then all of you. This is not just a little, this is huge. Thank you so much.
In the spring, we met Mr. Peanuts, an icon for the Middleton Cross Plains Area School District. Park Elementary head custodian Rodney Esser was honored for being at the district for 60 years. Looking at his memory wall, you can see just how much of a positive impact he's had on the community. Mr. Peanuts says he can't imagine life any other way.
These kids, they're all kids are different, but at the same time, they're all alike. And there's just something magic about those kids. When you go to work, give them a hug, give them a high five, they walk away smiling, stuff like that. That warms my heart.
For Dairy Month in Wisconsin, I visited the Nunn family farm to help them celebrate 125 years. Sitting on roughly 300 acres just north of Cross Plains, the memories span generations. Wes Nunn is the 5th generation farmer, living there with his wife and kids, who he hopes one day will take over the biz.
There ain't a whole lot of farms even going over 100 nowadays, and it's just nice to be part of something great.
I'm hoping to be the 6th generation. I play a lot of sports. It's hard to keep up with it all, but we do it, and I really enjoy helping my dad and other people in the summer. In my town.
We got really lucky as far as our Stuff the Bus went.
We did. Okay.
Ahead of the school year, we put out a call for help with our Back to School drive. News 3 Now viewers came forward in record numbers, donating 800 backpacks of school supplies for the Boys and Girls Clubs of Dane County to hand out to kids in need. 560 students set up to succeed here in the school year. We could not be more proud with that number.
We are so lucky to have such a generous community to support us this far.
Then the following month, another huge success with Coats for Kids. You made our 40th year one of the best yet, donating close to 5,000 coats, helping keep families warm this winter.
That's a huge accomplishment.
Now to one of our favorite Halloween traditions, a huge display in the front yard of this home in Sun Prairie. Aaron Voken has been going out for 5 years with a different theme every October. They get hundreds of people making the walk or drive by with a bin placed in their front yard for donations to the community food pantry.
Really kind of passing that love around to, as you mentioned, people down the street and some of our inflatables, and really sharing that love, kind of lighting the yard, lighting the neighborhood. It's been a lot of fun creating things.
And then a Madison tradition going back decades now. I'm talking about the Thanksgiving Basket Drive in partnership with the Goodman Community Center. This year, News 3 Now viewers helped put a Thanksgiving dinner on the table for more than 4,000 families in the 608. Now that's what we call doing something good.
Up on the housetop, reindeer paws, out jumps good old Santa Claus.
And of course, we couldn't celebrate the end of the year without the holiday season.
Where the treetops glisten.
I had the chance to catch up and listen to some of the magical sound of the Capital City Theater carolers.
Just get a bobtail nag, 240 for his speed, then hitch him to an open sleigh and crack, he'll take the lead. Jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle all.
You can always remember to let Josh know what inspires you in the 608, and we are happy to share those stories. Reach out either on social media or email us in the 608 at wisctv.com for a chance to be featured. Let's check in now with meteorologist Jacob Montesano live from our studio in Madison. Hey.
Hey, Michelle, Renee, as we take a look at the temperatures so far this month and this year, and obviously it's a very small sample size, but considering it's the coldest time of the season, of the year, and we are still below normal, it's definitely noticeably cold out there. So we've been below normal by about 6.5 degrees to start 2026. Again, very, very small sample size. But the reason I'm showing this is because this is going to completely change for this week. The temperatures today will be close to normal, then in the upper 30s to lower 40s for the entire work week. They may cool back down towards the end of the 10-day forecast, but they're not going to cool back down to extremely cold levels And as we take a look at the 8 to 14-day temperature outlook, it does suggest that we could see some slightly above average temperatures here in Wisconsin. So once we get towards tomorrow, we're going to be in that warmer trend, and that may continue for the foreseeable future. We still got a half hour of news coming up. This is Weekend Mornings. Keep it here.
Right now, Wisconsin lawmakers are speaking out about the strikes on Venezuela, how both sides of the aisle are reacting.
Plus, we're going to see those warmer temperatures very soon. I'll talk about how warm they could get coming up.
Good Sunday morning, the first of 2026. You're watching Weekend Mornings. I'm Michelle Renee Quinn. We begin this morning with an update following breaking news yesterday. The U.S. carrying out large-scale strikes on Venezuela and captured its president, Nicolas Maduro. That involved 15,000 U.S. troops in the Caribbean and more than 30 deadly strikes on alleged drug boats off the coast since September. Lawmakers, particularly Democrats, have been questioning the legality of those strikes. During that time, the U.S. also seized multiple Venezuelan oil tankers, which it claimed were under sanctions. Now, following this new action, the question on everyone's mind is what happens next? These questions sparked over the legality of the Trump administration's actions, Wisconsin lawmakers sharing their reactions to the attack. Representative Mark Pocan saying what played out was illegal. The War Powers Resolution is a United States law saying the president must get approval from Congress before armed forces can be used abroad. Pocan says in a classified meeting he was told that Congress would be notified if anything happened on the ground, something that the administration did not do.
So, the law is clear. You have to consult with Congress. That's crystal clear. And they chose not to do that. And you can't just pick and choose the laws when you're the president. You have to abide by the laws and make sure that they're followed. And you just can't be the lawbreaker in chief. Unfortunately, that's what they did.
Representative Brian Stile could not be reached yesterday, but tweeted, quote, Nicolas Maduro is a narco-terrorist indicted on drug trafficking charges. He contributed to the overdose deaths of thousands of Americans each year, end quote. Tammy Baldwin joined her fellow lawmakers with a statement of her own, saying, quote, she is committed to stopping the flow of illegal drugs, but the way in which Trump went about the situation was unconstitutional. Pocan also noted the United States would not have allowed other nations to do the same thing.
You can't just go into a country and do that. That'd be like Vladimir Putin going and taking President Zelensky. We clearly wouldn't let that stand. And yet that's kind of what we maybe have done in Venezuela.
Pocan says that when Congress meets next week, it'll be up to Republicans to join with what he assumes will be most Democrats in holding the administration accountable. Topping our news, people around the country are reacting to the U.S. attack on Venezuela. Protesters were outside in Madison yesterday, and they're expected to continue today. Our Nash Darrow reports.
After recent conflict arisings with the United States of America and Venezuela, protests across the nation have come to fruition after Donald Trump's capturing of the South American country's president, Nicolas Maduro. After a string of large-scale attacks carried out early Saturday morning by the Trump administration, members of various anti-war groups and others joined outside the state's capital to share their objection and reaction to the breaking news.
Well, outrage, one, that the United States would go in and bomb a sovereign country with no justification the way that they have. I think everybody here is angry that this is happening. We don't want this war, but we're also optimistic that we can build a movement that will stop it.
The two countries' disputed relationship dates back quite some time, but the planned ambush from the U.S. military marks a key point in the country's ongoing disagreements.
However much the U.S. dislikes their system, we have no right to go into a sovereign country and kidnap their president and take them back to the United States. And so we're out here to say no war, no kidnapping, stop the bombings, stop the siege on Venezuela, and let Nicolas Maduro return back to Venezuela.
Maduro and his wife were captured in Caracas, Venezuela's capital. He was seen on President Trump's social media, blindfolded on board the USS Iwo Jima, where he was being taken to New York for prosecution.
In this circumstance, we have gone into a country, kidnapped their head of state, and are now trying to attempt regime change. All of this done without any congressional consultation, all of this done against the will of the Venezuelan people, and all of this done overnight with no warning.
The protests in Madison, just one of many happening all over the country. Now let's get you ready to head out the door with a look at your first warn forecast. Jacob Montesano has that. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle Renee. Temperatures still on the colder side this morning. We actually have some areas below zero in central Wisconsin. A lot of the area in the single digits to lower teens, but it is a lot better in southwest Wisconsin and near the Mississippi River with temperatures near 20. Now, as we take a look at the forecast for the rest of today, the high temperatures will be a little bit warmer than the highs yesterday, despite the temperatures right now being colder than this time yesterday. We'll be in the middle to upper 20s, maybe some lower 30s out there with plenty of cloud cover. Now, what we're also going to see will be that snow and freezing rain move into our region. Now, we're not seeing any of that right now, and we're not expected to see that for several hours, but once we get to around noon, we'll start to see that snow freezing rain mix move into areas near La Crosse and Eau Claire, and then throughout the afternoon and evening, it'll push across Wisconsin. The most precipitation will be for areas north of the Dells, but far southern Wisconsin will still see some light snow and light freezing rain. So if you are traveling during this time, definitely take it easy and be aware of the slippery road conditions, especially if you're located in central Wisconsin. The good news is that this is not going to last too long. It will clear out by the later evening and almost completely clear out by midnight. And then obviously the Monday morning commute will be a lot better, and it also will be a lot milder. So I'll talk about that temperature warm up and show you a few other precipitation chances this week, all coming up a little bit later.
Jacob, thank you. Developing now in Rock County, firefighters are responding to a home in the town of Milton on Road 5 Street. That's on the west side of Lake Koshkonong. The box alarm call coming in just before midnight. Crews remaining on scene well into the morning hours. Now there's a 2- or 3-story home that looks like a total loss, and officials cannot confirm if there is a displacement of the family, but they do confirm there is no injuries. It's unknown if Red Cross is helping to provide aid. Lakeside Fire Rescue, Deerfield, Stoughton, Elkhorn, Fort Atkinson, and Janesville fire departments were all on scene, and Rock County Sheriff's Office confirms crews remained on scene until around 4:40 this morning. And a Wisconsin state judge convicted of blocking ICE agents from doing their job has resigned. Hannah Dugan announced Saturday she's stepping down. Dugan formally resigned in a letter she sent to Governor Tony Evers. If she had not resigned, the state legislature had threatened to impeach Dugan. A jury convicted her last month of obstructing federal agents attempting to arrest an undocumented immigrant who was in her courtroom. Dugan let the immigrant and his lawyer leave through the back when she learned ICE agents were outside, and she faces up to 5 years in prison. Dugan is appealing her conviction. And it was a big year in the Wisconsin legislature, with lawmakers coming together from both sides of the aisle to reach an agreement on the state budget. But the willingness of both parties to come to the table on some issues wasn't enough to get one piece of legislation passed. In the Assembly's final floor session of 2025, Speaker Robin Vos essentially blocked legislation to expand postpartum Medicaid coverage. Now, that bipartisan effort would have extended the coverage for new moms to 1 year after giving birth. Currently, Wisconsin is one of 2 states that does not have expanded coverage. In year-ender interviews with the Speaker and the Assembly's minority leader, political reporter Ellie LaLiberte asked why Vos blocked the legislation and what Democrats think should happen next.
So we have done a really good job providing a social safety net already in Wisconsin. I think the idea of expanding welfare might feel good, but in the end, it's not good for the mom, it's not good for society, and it's certainly not the best interest of the state of Wisconsin.
My hope is that his caucus, our Republican colleagues, will push on him to say, this is something that the people of Wisconsin want, it's the right thing to do, and we can't allow this to stall any longer.
You can hear more from those interviews, including whether Vos thinks the legislature will take up the legislation again in the new year. That's today on For the Record, airing at 10:30 right after CBS News Face the Nation. Looking ahead to next weekend, the much-loved musical Hamilton is playing at the Overture Center this week and over the weekend, and you still have a chance to be in the room where it happens. The critically acclaimed and award-winning musical will have performances from January 6th through the 18th. Most performances are at 7:30 p.m. through. There are a couple afternoon showings on the 10th, 11th, 17th, and 18th. Balcony boxes, and mezzanine tickets are largely sold out, but there are some circle, upper orchestra, and orchestra tickets still available. You can find more at tickets.overture.org/Hamilton. Still ahead on weekend mornings, if you have trouble falling and staying asleep, you won't want to miss today's health conversation. Our Kyron Lee discusses melatonin use with SSM Health's Dr. Rupa Shah.
Plus, I'll be back with a look at those precipitation chances throughout the week. This is Weekend Mornings. Keep it here.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Welcome back. A recent study from the American Heart Association linked a higher risk of heart failure to long-term use of melatonin supplements. But many experts are warning that research isn't enough to label the sleep aid as a definite danger. Dr. Rupa Shah joins News 3 Now's Kyrian Lee for this morning's health conversation on melatonin.
Wellness coach and SSM Health family physician Dr. Rupa Shah joins us this morning to help explain what we all need to know about long-term melatonin use. Good morning.
Good morning.
So let's start with the study that you all have reviewed. What does it say about melatonin use?
Yeah, so they looked at participants who had some insomnia issues and sleep issues who were using melatonin compared to folks who had sleep issues and weren't using melatonin. And what they found is that there was potentially this link with heart failure. The participants seemed to have a 90% higher risk of landing up in the hospital due to heart failure. However, it's important to note this was not a great study. This was not kind of what we call a double-blinded placebo study, which is sort of the hallmark gold standard when we were looking at things. So basically, there was some sort of a link, but we can't say exactly what that link was. And oftentimes in these types of studies, the real thing that we're finding is that just having insomnia can put you at risk for having heart issues. Because there have been previous studies where they looked at melatonin and found that it was good for heart issues. So it's really difficult to tease out. This, again, I think the bottom line is this wasn't a great study, and so we need some more data to really flesh this out better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So overall, what should people know about melatonin and melatonin supplements when they're using them?
Right. Melatonin is a hormone, and it's secreted by our pineal gland, and it gets secreted at night when it gets dark, and it's a way for it to tell our body that it's time to start to settle down, get ready for rest, and then fall asleep easily. So again, it's a hormone. Now, we take it in a supplement form to kind of help this natural process in our body. But remember, melatonin, just like any other supplement, it is still a supplement, which means it is not FDA regulated. So oftentimes, supplements can tout that they have certain amounts of active ingredients, when in fact they don't. They might have excess amounts. They may not have that ingredient. They might have other additives. So we really have to be cautious anytime we take any sorts of supplements, knowing that there's no sort of regulation or oversight on supplements.
Yeah, so if someone is having trouble with sleeping, what can they do before trying out a supplement?
Yeah. So first thing I would say is definitely talk to your physician about your sleep issues. At least mention it, because underlying insomnia, it could be if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, could still be a sign or symptom of sleep apnea or restless leg syndrome or some other underlying medical issue. So definitely talk to your physician to flesh out that that's not going on. Then focus again on sleep hygiene. We tend to forget that. But again, shutting down those screens at night, not eating big meals, not having alcohol, no vigorous exercise before going to bed, having a nice, cool, dark environment. You know I'm really big on all those sleep hygiene things. And because those really do help our body get into that sleep mode and calm ourselves down. And then if all else fails, we have melatonin. We have other supplements and sleep aids as well. So talk to your physician if any of those might be appropriate for you as well.
Okay, so start with some of those at-home remedies before looking at the supplement.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay, well, Dr. Shah, before we leave, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Wellness with Dr. Shah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
And as we take a look at the precipitation chances this week, we'll see that snow, freezing rain mix today, especially for areas north of Madison. That will clear out by Monday morning. Then as we get towards Monday night, we have another chance of a little bit of a wintry mix. Some rain, some freezing rain, also some snow. Not expected to see a massive amount of precipitation, but some slippery roads could be possible Tuesday morning. Then we'll be dry for Wednesday. And then as we get towards the end of the week, we are going to see potentially a bigger system move into our region. So it looks like it will start Thursday night, mostly in the form of rain, although areas further off to the north may see only snow from this system. And this is going to continue throughout the day on Friday and into Saturday as well. And as those temperatures cool down Saturday, that rain will likely transition to snow, and a lot of the area will see it end as snow as those temperatures cool back down. And right now we are expecting the possibility of snowfall accumulation, although a lot can change between now and then. So as far as how much, that's still very up in the air. The track of the system could definitely change quite a bit, but just be aware that there is the potential for that bigger system towards the end of the work week.
Jacob, thank you. Now to more health news this morning. If you think you need expensive serums and beef tallow to take good care of your skin, Think again. Dermatologists say the best way to take care of your skin is to always wear sunscreen, even if you have darker skin. It doesn't matter in what order you apply your skincare products, but with an SPF of at least 30, you're preventing sunburn, skin cancer, and premature aging. Another tip dermatologists recommend is keeping your showers simple and short, as long showers can dry out and irritate your skin. In consumer news this morning, new USDA rules are changing what it means for meat, poultry, and eggs to be labeled as a product of the USA. The label can now only be used if the animal was born, raised, slaughtered, and processed entirely in the United States. Farmers say this provides more transparency and confidence for shoppers. Under the old system, products could still carry the label even if parts of the supply chain occurred outside the U.S. USDA Agriculture Secretary says the rule ensures shoppers can trust what the label claims, and using the Made in USA label is a voluntary choice made by manufacturers if they decide to follow the regulatory requirements. And the U.S. Postal Service will be issuing a new stamp for African American History Month. The 49th stamp in the Black Heritage series honors Phyllis Wheatley. Wheatley was originally transported to the U.S. as a slave. In 1773, she published her book, Poems on Various Subjects, Religious and Moral. She was only 20 years old at the time and was freed the same year. George Washington praised her work and corresponded with her, and her work was often cited as part of the abolition movement. Her legacy earned her the title Mother of African American Literature. Still ahead on Weekend Morning, sports anchor Kay Racine takes us to the basketball court. Plus, Jacob brings you the final forecast when we come back. And if you have a birthday before the break, if your little kid is turning 3 soon, let us know so we can share their picture and wish them a happy birthday. You're watching Weekend Mornings. Keep it here.
Welcome back. Here's a final look at the 3 things you need to know. We'll see that freezing rain to snow mix later today, warmer by tomorrow, and then we will see a few other chances of rain and a little bit of a rain-snow mix throughout the week. But looking at today, there is a winter weather advisory in effect for areas north of the Dells. This does include La Crosse and Eau Claire. Not under the advisory is far southern Wisconsin, but I still expect to see some light snow and light freezing rain later today. Now, this isn't going to move in until closer to noon. And again, areas north of the Dells will see the most precipitation as a mixture of snow and freezing rain is expected. So definitely take it easy while you're on the roads during Sunday evening. Even throughout the overnight hours, we could still see those slippery roads. Again, just very light precipitation in far southern Wisconsin, but I'd still advise everyone to still take it easy Sunday evening. The good news is that this will clear out very quickly. By the time we get to midnight, it should be gone, although maybe still some slippery roads. But by the time we get to Monday morning, the roads should be a lot better. We have more precipitation chances Monday night into Tuesday, and then a bigger system is expected towards the end of the week, starting later Thursday, but especially Thursday night into Friday. And that system will cool the temperatures back down after they warm up for the middle of the week, and we could see some snow on the back end of it. But before we do see those temperatures drop back down, they're going to rise into the upper 30s to lower 40s for several days in a row. And for Monday through early Thursday, we're not going to see a ton of precipitation either. We will have that system Monday night into early Tuesday, but most of Monday, most of Wednesday, and most of Thursday, well, should be dry, and even the afternoon and evening hours Tuesday should be dry as well. So there will be plenty of time to enjoy some of the milder temperatures that we're going to see.
Good morning, Madison. With conference play among us, the stakes are very high every single game and every night. And after 8 games, the Badgers were looking to remain undefeated in the Kohl Center last night as they took on Purdue. Starting off hot, Alexius with an easy jumper to take the lead for the Badgers, and with lots of momentum and lots of back and forth, Braden Carrington steps back and then drains a 3 that would make it a 2-point game. And then the leading scorer of the night, Nick Boyd, puts up 2 of his 24 points, but the Badgers could not finish this one, losing last night 89-73, making it their first loss in the Kohl Center this season. And next up for the Badgers is UCLA this Tuesday. Now it's time for you to have a great morning.
And our green and gold are getting ready for the playoffs with their regular season finale this afternoon. You can watch Green Bay take on Minnesota today right here on Channel 3. Kickoff is at noon. Still ahead on Weekend Mornings, we're talking Olympics and sharing your morning motivation. keep it here, but during the break, send in your weekend playlist pick. That's to Mr. Quinn at WISCTV.com. And we'll add that to our 2026 weekend playlist. And then tune in on weekend mornings to hear your song. We'll be right back.
You're watching News 3 Now this morning. Moving forward.
Now to today's morning motivational quote from J.P. Morgan. The first step towards getting somewhere else is to decide you're not going to stay where you are. You like that one?
Yeah, when I read it for the first time this morning, it actually took me a second. I was like, ooh, that's a good one. And I feel like taking that step is always, in some cases, harder than actually, doing the work to get there. It's that first step is always the biggest one, 100%.
Absolutely, I agree. And so this is your guys' motivation to have that mental awareness, have that self-awareness, and decide if you're going to improve or stay where you are. Now, finally, this morning, the Olympic flame was on its way to the Olympics. Friday, it slid down snowy slopes in central Italy as part of the traditional Olympic torch relay, all leading up to the 2026 Winter Olympics, which take place from February 6th to the 22nd. The torch was lit last month in ancient Olympia, the Greek home of the Games. In total, it'll travel over 7,000 miles in its full journey to the Winter Olympics.
I feel like every year I hear about the Olympics and I'm like, ooh, I should watch this year. And then I feel like I don't. I watched a ton of Michael Phelps back in the Summer Olympics, but beyond that, I haven't gotten around to watching a lot of it. I know it's the best athletes in the world and I should, but just haven't gotten to that.
There's definitely something to see there. It's always fun to watch. And thank you guys for watching Weekend Mornings. Coming up next is CBS Sunday Morning, followed by Face the Nation and For the Record. After that, stick around to see the Packers kick off at noon. Our next newscast is at 10.